All right, so today we're going to be talking about something really heavy. It's a tough one, but really important.
Definitely.
We're going to be talking about the case of 22-month-old Charlie Roberts, who tragically lost his life.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've got the court documents, some background research.
Right.
And I think our goal here today is to try and make sense of it all.
I think that's important.
Why did this happen?
Yeah.
What does this tell us about, how vulnerable children really are? And, it's going to be an emotional deep dive. Knowledge is the first step towards,
With prevention.
Prevention, exactly. Yeah, so let's get into it. Just the basic facts.
Okay.
We know that Charlie was killed by Christopher Stockton, his mother's partner.
Mm-hmm.
So what exactly happened? What led to that moment?
Well, it seems like, sadly, a pretty common situation. Stockton was up late, playing video games, probably stressed, tired, sleep-deprived.
Right.
And he shook little Charlie, with enough force to cause fatal injuries.
Now, I know some people listening might be thinking, oh, video games, that's the problem.
It's easy to jump to that conclusion, but it's rarely that straightforward.
Right.
So, from a behavioral psychology perspective, what can you tell us about, that kind of rage that would lead someone to do this, to hurt a baby?
Well, you're absolutely right. It's never just one thing. Sleep deprivation and stress, they play a part.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to dig a bit deeper. Often people who abuse children have a history of trauma themselves, unresolved trauma,
Right.
and that makes it hard for them to manage their emotions. They might struggle with controlling their impulses, or they have a warped view of discipline.
Right.
So with Stockton, I think it's crucial to understand his background.
Was there violence in his past? Was he abused as a child? Mm-hmm. These things don't excuse what he did, obviously.
Of course.
But they help us get a clearer picture.
So then there's Charlie's mother, Paula Roberts.
Yeah.
The court found her guilty of neglect and sentenced her to 4 years.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Can you just explain, in legal terms, what constitutes neglect?
Sure.
And what we actually know about her role in all of this?
So, legally speaking, neglect is failing to provide a child with the basics, and that includes protection from harm.
Okay.
And in this case, the court found that Paula knew about Stockton's abusive behavior.
Wow.
She had seen bruises on Charlie, but didn't seek medical help or, get him out of that situation.
That's what's so hard to wrap your head around, right?
Yeah.
How could a mother not protect her child?
It's the question everyone asks.
Was it fear? Denial?
It's where things get complicated.
I mean, from your experience working with families in crisis,
Yeah.
what sort of insights can you offer on that?
Often, women like Paula, they're trapped in a cycle of abuse too. The abuser might isolate them, control their money, use threats, intimidation to keep them under their thumb.
Right.
This creates an environment of fear where they feel powerless to act, even to protect their own child.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
It really is.
So, in a way, Paula was a victim too.
In many ways, yeah.
But that doesn't, erase the consequences of her actions.
Yeah,
Right?
of course not.
So how does the legal system try to balance, accountability with understanding in a case like this?
That's the balancing act the courts always have to do. They have to hold people accountable, especially when a child's life is lost.
Right.
But they also have to recognize the complexities of domestic violence, the psychological damage it causes. Sentencing in these cases, it's not about revenge. It's about deterring future harm.
Yeah.
And that means looking at all the factors involved.
And the judge in this case, really focused on Charlie's vulnerability and the devastating impact of Stockton's actions.
It was a powerful statement.
So what's the bigger picture here?
This case shows us a harsh truth. Children are the most vulnerable members of society. They rely completely on adults for their safety and well-being.
Yeah.
The judge's words underscore that responsibility we all have to protect them.
Which brings us to the most important question.
What can we do?
Yeah, how can we prevent tragedies like this?
Exactly.
What are the warning signs that someone might be abusing a child?
Right.
And what can we do if we suspect something's wrong?
Well, first off, remember, abuse isn't always physical. Unexplained changes in behavior, withdrawal, fear of a particular adult, those can be red flags.
Right, okay.
Also, pay attention to the caregiver. Do they seem controlling or dismissive of the child's needs?
Yeah.
If something feels off, trust your gut.
Yeah.
You can contact Child Protection Services or a helpline.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're not sure, reporting it allows professionals to assess the situation and potentially intervene.
It's a tough conversation to have,
It is.
but we can't avoid it.
No, we can't.
This case, it's a wake-up call. It can happen anywhere, even in families that seem, perfect from the outside.
Absolutely, that's the thing.
And the more we understand about abuse, the better we can recognize it and take action.
Yeah.
And this might be Charlie's story, but it reminds us that we all have a role to play in protecting children. So if there's one thing you want our listener to take away from today, what would it be?
If you see something, say something. Don't hesitate to reach out for help. Whether it's for yourself, a friend, or a child you're worried about, there are resources out there. You don't have to go through this alone.
That's so important.
It is.
Thank you so much for breaking this down with us.
It's been a tough one.
Yeah, incredibly important, though. And to everyone listening, remember, you're not alone.
You're not.
If this has raised any concerns for you, please reach out.